Hello, my name is Kurt Kempton, and I am really excited to be able to show you a new feature that we rolled out today called Google Calendar Integration. And what I'd like to do first is show you how to go ahead and set up a Google Calendar integration with your ResponsiBid account. The first thing you'll do is go from Settings to Administrator, and then you will scroll down and see that there is a job in Google Calendar settings area. Now, this top area, it's always been there before, your time zone and your arrival windows, start time and increments of your step size. But there's a new button called Authenticate with Google Calendar. And when you click that button, you'll be taken to a page to choose which Google account you want to link with. And you'll let Google know that you would like to sync up with that particular account. Now, once you've done this, it'll take you back into ResponsiBid, and you may or may not see your calendars there. Sometimes this can be a little slower than expected, and if you just refresh the page, your calendars should all show up. Now, in this case, I'm showing a calendar that I don't want ResponsiBid to be dealing with, so I'm going to turn that one off. And then you need to understand a little bit about how the Google Calendar integration is going to work now. So when you schedule a job, ResponsiBid is going to send that job over to Google Calendar, and you'll be able to tell it which calendar to put it into for that account, and you'll be able to tell it how to create the event. Now, the first thing you'll see over here is that ResponsiBid is now interested in knowing how many dollars per hour does your company crew typically do. So I'm going to use 125, and that number will just be what ResponsiBid uses to try and figure out about how long to make a job. You'll be able to edit it no problem. The next thing is actually a merge field picker, just kind of like what you would use in the follow-up area, but you don't need to actually use it unless you need to add something to what's already here. A Google Calendar event has three options. It has a title, and in this case we're using the contact's first name, or full name, sorry, an event location, which we're using merge fields to string together a location that should be clickable on a mobile device to be able to take you via Google Maps or something. And then it has a description in the actual calendar event. So we typed out services to be rendered and then actually used a merge field to show the services to be rendered. Again, we did the same thing for notes and then for the phone numbers, the two main and alternate phone number. Now there is one thing some people might want is to be able to get to the ResponsiBid contact. So I'm going to put in here, this will be a link to the customer's profile. This might be something that you would want to use in order to go and verify specifications or something. So to get that link, what we'll do is we'll grab another merge field. We'll go up to here, we'll go down to contact.customer-profile, and that will automatically submit a link to the customer's profile. So now all of the events will be created properly once we save it this way. But we need two more pieces of information. Number one is, if you delete an event in Google Calendar, what do you want ResponsiBid to do? Do you want it to just move on with life, or do you want it to change the status of the customer to a particular thing? Okay, I'm going to have it just move on with life. ResponsiBid is going to keep on going like nothing ever happened. That might not be the right thing for you. Now, the other thing it needs to know is, what is it supposed to do if the status of an event is changed inside of ResponsiBid before an event happens in Google Calendar? So you have a few options here. The one I like the best is to delete only future events. So if the status changes but the event was in the past, it'll leave it in my Google Calendar. And then, do you want to be notified if someone copies and pastes an event in Google Calendar that is tied to a ResponsiBid event? Now, ResponsiBid is actually going to deal with it pretty well, but when it happens, you can have ResponsiBid email you and let you know how it's going to deal with it. So now that you've got all those settings, all you have to do now is go in and actually set up a job. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we see that Mama Fushu is a customer of ours. We're going to go ahead and book a job. You can see that there's now an icon here. There's a gray icon letting me know that not only is it not syncing now, but there's actually never been a past sync. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this job for Carpet Cleaning Premium. And you can see that I can pick my date just like normal. So let's say we're going to do this on Monday the 29th. And we will arrive at 10 a.m. So we'll get there between 10 and noon. ResponsiBid says, hey, I think it's going to take about 2 hours and 19 minutes. Well, you can change this to whatever you'd like. I'm going to just make it a 2-hour even. And then you can pick whatever calendar you want it to go on. I'll put it with Crew 2, or you could have it not even connect to Google Calendar. But we'll go ahead and schedule that up. It's dialing into Google Calendar right now, and it actually finished. It already synced with Google Calendar, and it created the job for February 25th. Actually, I'm sorry. It set it for Monday, February 29th. So 25th is when it did the syncing. So here's the date. Now I'm already in the calendar, but I need to refresh it so that it shows up. And there you see Mama Fushu. And if I edit the event, you'll see that there is the address, there is the calendar crew, and you'll see the notes. It already brought in all of the notes that it needed to. Now it's important that you know that if you go in now and you set Mama Fushu's notes to say test note, and you go back over to Google Calendar after a minute or two, or a second or two, you can see that my test note is already there, and it's still scheduled for when it was going to happen. But if I'd put any notes in between this area and this area, it would have wiped them all out, because this is ResponsiBid's area. It clears everything out and reinstalls it. But you can see that if this was being pulled up on a mobile device, this would be a link that the employee could go check out the customer's profile, add specifications. If we want to add additional notes, just in the calendar, we can, and that won't affect ResponsiBid at all. It'll stay with it real nice. And then the other thing that's cool is that if I take this event and I move it to 10 o'clock on Wednesday the 2nd, ResponsiBid will automatically change the date to March 2nd. So it's already handled it. All the follow-up, if it was opted in, all the follow-up would also have reconfigured. So if it was supposed to send something out the day before, it will go out the day before. You won't have to go in and do anything about it. So I think you're going to really love this integration. It works really, really well, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.